INFPs are guided by a deep internal compass rooted in authenticity, meaning, and compassion. They see life as a journey of self-discovery and purpose, striving to live in alignment with their values rather than external expectations. To an INFP, the world is not simply a collection of events or facts. It is a landscape of emotions, possibilities, and meanings waiting to be explored. At their core, INFPs are driven by an inner world that is rich and complex. They experience emotions with striking depth, often sensing things others overlook. This inner sensitivity gives them a rare ability to empathize with people's pain and dreams. They can intuitively grasp the unspoken emotions in a room, feeling deeply moved by beauty, art, or the suffering of others. Their empathy is not surface level. It penetrates the soul. INFPs are the type to cry during movies not merely because of what happens on screen, but because they sense the universal human experience beneath the story: loss, love, hope, and redemption. Despite their strong emotions, INFPs are often reserved. They prefer to keep their true feelings hidden until they trust someone completely. Many people mistake their quietness for indifference, not realizing that behind their calm exterior lies an ocean of thoughts and emotions. INFPs spend much of their lives in reflection, turning situations over in their minds, analyzing motives, and searching for lessons. They often feel torn between the world as it is and the world as it could be. This constant comparison fuels both their idealism and their frustration. They see the potential for goodness everywhere, but reality rarely lives up to their vision. Because of their idealistic nature, INFPs often find themselves drawn to creative expression. Art, music, poetry, and storytelling are natural outlets for them to give voice to their inner world. When words fail them in conversation, they find clarity in creation. Many of history's most profound writers, artists, and thinkers have displayed INFP traits. People who could not remain indifferent to the beauty and tragedy of existence. For an INFP, creativity is not just a hobby. It is therapy, truth-telling, and meaning-making combined. Through their work, they translate their private emotions into something universal that others can feel and understand. INFPs also tend to have a strong moral compass. They hold themselves to high ethical standards and are constantly examining their own intentions to ensure they align with their beliefs. Integrity means everything to them. They would rather be misunderstood than betray their conscience. However, this inner commitment can also be a source of pain. When INFPs fall short of their own ideals, they can spiral into guilt or self-criticism, believing they're not good enough. They may also feel crushed when others do not live up to the same moral standards, especially when they see cruelty, dishonesty, or injustice in the world. Their sensitivity makes them compassionate healers and understanding friends, but it also makes them vulnerable to emotional exhaustion. INFPs absorb others' feelings easily, and when they fail to set boundaries, they can feel drained or even lost. They often retreat into solitude to recharge and reconnect with themselves. Alone time is sacred to them. It is when they process, dream, and heal. During these moments, their imagination comes alive, weaving new stories and ideas that remind them of who they are beyond the noise of the world. In relationships, INFPs seek emotional depth and spiritual connection. Superficiality feels empty to them. They crave partners and friends who understand their soul, not just their surface. When they love wholeheartedly, idealizing the person and often seeing the best version of who that person could become. This can be both their greatest strength and their most painful weakness. When reality fails to match their romanticized vision, they may feel disillusioned. Yet, even when hurt, their love tends to endure in quiet, poetic ways. They rarely hate, but they might withdraw silently, grieving the loss of the ideal they once believed in. In work, INFPs thrive in environments that allow authenticity and creativity. They struggle in rigid systems that suppress individuality or prioritize profit over people. Routine or meaningless tasks drain them, while work that connects to their values energizes them. Many INFPs are drawn to careers in counseling, writing, education, art, psychology, and social causes, any field where they can help others, express themselves, or contribute to something meaningful. They need to feel that their efforts are making a difference, no matter how small. Though they may appear dreamy and idealistic, INFPs possess a quiet determination. When something aligns with their principles, they can be remarkably persistent. Their drive comes not from competition or external pressure, but from conviction. They can dedicate years to perfecting a vision or fighting for a cause they believe in. This hidden strength often surprises those who underestimate them. Beneath their gentle exterior lies an unyielding spirit that refuses to give up on what truly matters. One of the biggest challenges INFPs face is learning to balance their inner idealism with the realities of life. Their perfectionism and fear of failure can hold them back, making them procrastinate or abandon projects when they don't feel ready. They may spend too much time envisioning possibilities rather than taking action. For them, growth comes when they learn to bring their dreams into the real world, even imperfectly. When an INFP realizes that imperfection does not invalidate meaning, that beauty can coexist with flaws, they begin to blossom. Their imagination, though a source of creativity and inspiration, can also turn inward in unhealthy ways. INFPs often retreat into fantasy when reality feels too harsh or disappointing. They may create entire inner worlds, ideal relationships, dream careers, or future scenarios, where everything aligns perfectly with their vision. These internal landscapes are comforting, but they can also become a form of escape. When life fails to meet their expectations, they might feel trapped between what is and what should be, unable to bridge the two. The challenge lies in learning to bring pieces of that ideal world into existence rather than living only within it. Many INFPs also struggle with identity. Their flexibility and open-mindedness make them adaptable, but it can also cause them to lose a clear sense of who they are. They often mirror the emotions and values of those around them, especially people they admire or love. Over time, this can leave them feeling uncertain about their own desires. They might ask themselves, "What do I truly want?" Or, "Who am I apart from what others expect of me?" It's not unusual for INFPs to go through multiple phases of reinvention as they peel back layers of borrowed identity to rediscover their authentic self. Because of their introspective nature, INFPs sometimes live more in their heads than in the present moment. They can spend hours analyzing conversations, choices, or mistakes, replaying scenarios to understand what went wrong. This reflective tendency, while useful for self-awareness, can easily spiral into overthinking and self-blame. They are often their own harshest critics, dissecting their flaws with precision that borders on cruelty. The same sensitivity that allows them to empathize with others can turn inward, creating a storm of guilt, regret, or self-doubt. It takes time for them to learn that growth does not require perfection, only persistence and grace. INFPs also struggle with being misunderstood. Because they rarely express the full intensity of what they feel, others might perceive them as distant, indecisive, or even apathetic. Yet inside, they are burning with passion and meaning. This gap between inner depth and outer appearance often leads to loneliness. They crave to be seen and understood, but fear that revealing too much will lead to rejection. As a result, they oscillate between yearning for closeness and retreating into solitude. It's not that they don't want connection. It's that they need it to feel genuine, unforced, and safe. When INFPs do open up, they do so with sincerity. They value authenticity in others as much as they value it in themselves, and few things wound them more deeply than deceit or manipulation. Once betrayed, they may forgive on the surface but withdraw emotionally, creating invisible walls to protect their heart. Yet even in their pain, INFPs rarely seek revenge or resentment. They would rather grieve quietly and transmute their hurt into art, poetry, or wisdom than allow bitterness to consume them. This ability to find beauty in sorrow is part of what makes them so unique. Another hidden struggle for INFPs is decision-making. Their desire to honor all possibilities and stay true to their values can lead to paralyzing indecision. They weigh every option against their moral compass, fearing that a wrong choice might betray who they are. This tendency to overanalyze can make them hesitant to act, especially when faced with practical or high-pressure decisions. They prefer to move when something feels right, which can frustrate more pragmatic types who prioritize logic over intuition. For INFPs, action must feel meaningful. Otherwise, it feels hollow. INFPs also face a lifelong tension between idealism and practicality. They envision grand possibilities for how the world could be, but often feel powerless to change it. This can lead to periods of disillusionment or existential crisis, where they question whether their efforts truly matter. Yet even in despair, something within them refuses to die. Their hope may flicker, but it never fully extinguishes. With time, many INFPs learn to channel their ideals into small, tangible actions that create real impact. They discover that purpose is not found in changing everything, but in changing something, even if that something is one life, one story, or one moment at a time. As they mature, INFPs often go through a quiet transformation. They begin to integrate their inner world with the outer one, realizing that authenticity is not about perfection, but alignment. They learn to ground their dreams in reality without losing their heart. When they reach this point, they become deeply powerful in a subtle way. Their presence inspires others to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters. They embody gentleness without weakness, compassion without naivety, and hope without illusion. As INFPs evolve and grow more self-aware, they begin to understand that their sensitivity and idealism were never weaknesses. They were tools waiting for mastery. Early in life, these traits often feel burdensome because the world can appear too harsh and unfeeling for their gentle hearts. But with experience, INFPs start to harness their emotional depth as a form of intuition. They learn that their feelings are not random storms to endure, but powerful guides that can point them toward truth and alignment. When they stop fighting their sensitivity and start listening to it with wisdom, it becomes one of their greatest strengths, a compass for living authentically. With maturity, INFPs often begin to find peace in imperfection. They realize that the beauty they crave in life does not lie in flawless outcomes, but in moments of honesty, growth, and resilience. This shift marks a turning point. Instead of mourning what could have been, they start appreciating what is, the lessons, the scars, and the quiet progress that unfolds over time. This acceptance allows them to engage with life more fully, no longer paralyzed by fear of failure or disappointment. They come to see that meaning is created through participation, not perfection. One of the most remarkable transformations in an INFP's journey is how they begin to balance introspection with expression. In their younger years, they may internalize everything, hiding their emotions and ideas from the world out of fear of rejection or misunderstanding. But as they mature, they feel a calling to share what they've discovered within. Whether through writing, counseling, music, or teaching, they begin to externalize their inner wisdom. Their vulnerability becomes their art, and their introspection becomes their message. When they speak from the heart, they touch others in ways that feel deeply personal, yet universally human. As they grow, INFPs also develop a quiet but profound confidence. This isn't the loud, assertive confidence often celebrated by society. It's a still, grounded assurance that comes from knowing who they are. They no longer feel the need to fit into molds that don't align with their values. They stop chasing validation and start focusing on contribution. Their sense of worth shifts from external approval to inner authenticity. This change often makes them more magnetic than they realize. People are drawn to their calm conviction, their sincerity, and their ability to make others feel seen without judgment. Another dimension of their growth comes from their relationship with boundaries. Earlier in life, many INFPs struggle to say no, fearing that doing so makes them unkind or selfish. Over time, however, they realize that boundaries are acts of love, not just for themselves but for others too. By protecting their energy, they preserve their ability to give genuinely. This self-awareness helps them form healthier relationships, where love is mutual rather than draining. Their compassion becomes wiser, selective, and rooted in discernment rather than self-sacrifice. Spiritually, Many INFPs go through a journey of awakening that deepens their connection to life itself. Whether through faith, philosophy, or personal reflection, they begin to see meaning woven into everything. They develop a quiet reverence for existence, for pain and joy alike, seeing both as necessary parts of the human experience. This spiritual maturity often gives them a serene aura, as though they've made peace with the paradoxes of life. They may not have all the answers, but they've learned to live beautifully amidst uncertainty. When faced with hardship, INFPs tend to transform pain into purpose. Their natural introspection drives them to extract meaning from every struggle. They use heartbreak, rejection, or failure as raw material for growth. Instead of letting pain close their hearts, they allow it to soften them further. This capacity to turn wounds into wisdom is one of their defining traits. It makes them resilient in a quiet, almost mystical way, like a candle that burns brighter in darkness. As they go through life, INFPs also learn to integrate logic with emotion. While their decisions are often guided by values and feelings, experience teaches them that practicality does not betray authenticity. They begin to appreciate structure, discipline, and planning, not as constraints, but as tools that help them bring their dreams to life. This balance between idealism and groundedness makes them far more effective creators and leaders. When they align heart and mind, they can manifest their visions in ways that once seemed impossible. INFPs are usually beacons of hope and emotional truth. They remind others that sensitivity is not fragility, that gentleness can coexist with strength, and that authenticity is more powerful than conformity. They inspire change not by demanding it, but by embodying it, by living lives so genuine that others feel encouraged to do the same. Their impact is often subtle, yet deeply transformative, like sunlight filtering through leaves, quiet, steady, and nourishing.